Happy Monday. It's December 22nd, 2025, and time for your final Monday market update for this year. Thanks so much for watching. We'll take a quick look at our McHenry County numbers for the last 7 days before we talk about the year in review. So, for the last 7 days in McHenry County, we had 91 new listings. We had 78 go under contract, 88 closed sales, 30 price changes, 6 expireds, and 17 currently on the private network. So obviously this is a slow week for real estate. Not a lot of people putting homes on the market or putting them under contract, although some. 78 under contract is not nothing. So there are people in the market right now. There are various reasons why people would participate in the December market. They have to move due to work, if they have a divorce situation, family circumstances change. Some buyers are taking advantage of the need to get homes off of the market for sellers. So buyers have a little bit more negotiating power this time of year than they will in the spring. We also have some people who just timing, it just kind of worked out that they're moving over Christmas. We had a buyer close last week on her property, and it just was when the seller wanted to move. She put the house under contract in October, and the seller wanted a longer closing. So lots of reasons why people move this time of year, but it is certainly slower than the average spring market. Now, I've had a couple of questions recently, one of which is, when does spring market actually start? Well, we know that people kind of right now are all focused on the holidays, and then it's New Year's. And then after that, there's kind of like the January lull. January still can be kind of slow in the real estate market. February, people are like, okay, wait, the holidays are over. All right, spring is coming. We got to kind of start getting ready. And after the Super Bowl is kind of the unofficial start of the spring market. So that's when we'll start to see things kind of pick up. People are kind of thinking spring. Weather is a huge factor here. If we have a warmer spring, like if it's warm in March, we will have an earlier spring market. It's just kind of one of those mental things that people around here, it kind of triggers them. If we get a warm day, they're like, oh, it's spring. We got to start thinking, if they're already thinking that they want to move for spring. So when our actual market will really start to pick up is very weather dependent. And then also it's obviously going to be very dependent on what happens with rates in the new year. We will have a new Fed chair next year, so we do expect that we will see some improvement of the mortgage rates in 2026. I don't know that we will see them go down drastically unless we have quantitative easing, which is where the federal government starts buying the mortgage-backed securities and they artificially buy down the rates. That's what happened during COVID, and that was in order to spur our economy and keep us out of a depression. So if that happens, which I don't think they would do it to any extent that they did it in COVID, but we could see them start to some quantitative easing in order to get rates into the high fives. So we could see that in 2026, but a lot of people thought that that was where we were going to be in 2025, and we did not see that. So rates have been very, very steady this year. In January of 2025, we saw rates in the low 7s. And then over the year, we saw them come down. They're in the low 6s now, 6.25-ish. Rates are always an individual thing. So what I get as a mortgage rate is not going to be the same as what you get. But that's about where they're at. So they've been very stable through 2025, making a downward, very, very, very slow progression. So we anticipate that that will continue in 2026, but how exactly that plays out will affect the housing market and when we really see the spring market get underway. I know I used to tell my husband, can you please put in the first week of April to tell Miranda to stop freaking out that she's not totally going crazy yet. Because I think of spring break is that last week in March. So I always think, oh, it's going to be crazy now, so we should get ready. And it often doesn't really get going until the middle of April. And then by the middle of April, I am going so crazy with calls and listing appointments and buyer appointments that I'm like ready for my head to explode. And so it can happen very, very quickly, and a lot of that will be weather dependent. So that's kind of what our housing market looks like. Traditionally, we see one of the highest price points of the year under contract the third week in April. So that can be a great time to list your home if you have that flexibility. And if you are not a buyer, that is something to consider as well. If you're a seller and also a buyer, well, then you don't necessarily want to participate in the most expensive market of the year. You want to put your home on the market then but you don't want to buy something then. So if you're a buyer, you probably want to get into the market a little bit sooner, like maybe January, February, and take advantage of some homes that are on the market, and yet the competition isn't quite so crazy. But as a seller, if you're only a seller, you maybe want to wait until like mid-April to sell your home and take advantage of kind of that frenzy that can happen that time of year as people are going into the summer months and they get anxious about getting something under contract. So that's kind of how the market, we expect it to go, a very traditional year. It does appear that we are moving back to a normal market. We do still have very low inventory in the Midwest, especially in the McHenry County area, northwest suburbs of Chicago. We don't have the inventory surplus that they have in other parts of the country. So we do anticipate that prices will continue to go up through 2026. We had some nice appreciation over 2025. We anticipate that will continue in 2026. So it is still a really good time to buy homes. I know if you're an investor, you don't want to be participating in the super competitive spring market. So now would be a great time to start looking for that investment property to grow your wealth and have wealth for generations. So that is your Monday market update for 2025. We had a great year. It was not 2021 or 2022. We're still very, very low for transactions overall throughout the United States, but we anticipate that slowly but surely our market will pick up and we will start to see more transactions in 2026 as more and more sellers decide it's time to move. I'm Miranda Alt with the Miranda Alt team. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support over 2025. Thank you for recommending us to your friends and family, for sharing our videos, for liking my videos, and for always reaching out whenever you have questions about real estate. I want to be your real estate resource. So have a great holiday, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and we'll see you in 2026. Bye.